I had a really dumb moment just now because I saw that the man was upside down, and so I thought that I was holding the book upside down, but I was reading the words and thinking, oh god, the words are upside down, but the words are not upside down. Anyway, I'm getting rid of the outsiders. Hey everyone, it's Jayla. Welcome back to another video. Today I am channeling my inner hardcore badass Buttercup because I have to make some tough decisions today because I'm unhauling a ton of books. Definitely not as many as I should be unhauling, but we'll get into that. So the reason I am unhauling so many books is because A, I buy books almost every day and then don't read them, and so I should really like cut down what's in here, but also I am moving soon. At the end of June I'm going to be moving to the big city. I'm being a cliche, and so I need to take as few things with me as possible. So I am moving into a little apartment and I cannot take a bunch of books with me, but I also, like, this is my childhood home. I'm not going to be taking every single book I own with me, and they will be staying here, but I don't want to leave my library looking like overwhelming, because right now it's quite overwhelming. If you saw my last video, I showed you a bunch of books that I want to read, including this TBR cart full of books, and then I just have this growing stack of things that I need to read and that I probably won't ever read. I mean, I'll read some of these things, obviously. I really am excited for most of these books, but they just keep piling up instead of shrinking down. So I'm trying to be realistic because I look at this shelf here and I think I want to genuinely read all of these books, but then I don't read them. So all that to say, basically, like, I know that not everything on this shelf is something that I will ever get to, and yet I keep telling myself that it is. And so the books that I have picked out, because this isn't even the books that I'm addressing, I have stacks and stacks of books here beside me that are going to be in this video. None of the stuff behind me is going to be in this video. Why am I talking about them? I don't know. I'm rambling. We should get started with this video. I plan to trade these in at my secondhand bookstore or donate them because some of these are ARCs that you can't actually sell. And so with all that out of the way, let's get into the actual video. Look at all these books. Like, there's just so many books. I have a problem. I buy books all the time, and it's just starting to consume my life. Let's start with the books that I just know I'll probably never get to. The Magisterium books. I have The Iron Trial and the Copper Gauntlet by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. And I really actually want to read these, but it's been years since I bought them. Clearly I don't want to read them that badly. I actually got The Iron Trial at my book fair, and then I found this one on Book Outlet, and so I I got them, I'm gonna read them. And now I kind of want to keep them as I'm talking about them. I actually read The Iron Trial. Wait, pause. I read The Iron Trial. I really enjoyed it. I got the Copper Gauntlet. I never picked it up. So realistically, I probably won't. I don't read a ton of middle grade, but if I were to pick up a middle grade book, I feel like these would be the ones. This is just going to be me reconsidering everything that I'm saying in this video. I'm unhauling these. I do not need them on my shelf anymore. Then we have The Hunger Pains, which is a Harvard Lampoon like parody book for the Hunger Games. Personally, I just respect the Hunger Games too much to really read this book. I got it from a secondhand shop, and I was like, oh, I love the Hunger Games, like, this is gonna be so funny. But no, like, I read a few pages of it, and I just do not disrespect the craft. I don't know, like, it's all jokes, and it was funny, or it was silly, it wasn't really funny. But, like, I can't do this. Like, I care too much about the characters, I care too much about the world, and I care too much about the story to really sit through this parody. So this is just not for me, and I can just give it to somebody else. Speaking of, I do have a paperback copy of The Hunger Games, though, because I got this at YALLFest in 2019, and this was, like, leading up to the big, oh, like, the prequel's coming out, and so you, like, signed up for something, you got the free book, and you got a cookie, which was really nice. I have a full set of the Hunger Games books, and I have another set that I'm trying to develop, so let's hope that I can get it. But this paperback is nothing spectacular. No one's probably going to buy this because it's the Hunger Games and everyone has it, so I don't know. But I just don't need it. I don't need it taking up space here. Then we have the Life as We Knew It series by Susan Beth Pfeiffer. I've had these for so many years, since I was a kid probably. I read Life as We Knew It. I think I got halfway through The Dead and the Gone, and I never touched This World We Live In. So I didn't dislike these books, or like the 1.5 books that I read, but I just never got back to it. I don't know, the only reason I kept these books is because they fit perfectly in this really awkwardly shaped hole in my bookshelf because it's custom made, and like there was just one hole that it doesn't actually fit books in it because it's so small, and so this is the only size that actually fits unless you lay everything horizontally, and so I kept them. But I do not have any interest in finishing them, and they do not need to still be here. Then I was recently sent Can't Stop Won't Stop from Wednesday Books, and I did read a bit of the story. I didn't go back and read the rest of the book though, and I don't think I ever will because nonfiction is just not really my jam, and so I think this is a really cool recent release that I can let someone else have. I also won the initial insult in a giveaway, and I haven't read any Mindy McGinnis, but I just don't think I'll read this. My sister did read it and she had some questions. It was a little bit questionable to her. I also have 2 copies of this book, and so I can easily just get rid of this one and she can keep her copy. I can just borrow it anytime if I feel like I do want to read it, but the likelihood of me doing that is very small. Then we have the Boneless Mercies, which I'm like on the fence about, because I definitely said that I wanted to read this and I asked people to tell me what you thought of it, blah 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 blah. This book I found at a little free library and I was super excited about it because Laini Taylor blurbed it as fierce and glorious, and I'm sure that means it's amazing. But then I saw one Goodreads review that was essentially just saying this is a Beowulf retelling, but there's no monster slaying until the very end and it's super boring and nothing happens. And I'm personally not a fan of books where nothing happens, except when I really love the characters, and it didn't seem like the characters were really going to sell me in this. Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. If there's any Marisha Pessl book I'm going to read, it's going to be Night Film. It's definitely not going to be this one, because I put this one on mini TBRs, not necessarily like for this channel, but in my lifetime I've put this on mini TBRs to say I was going to read it, and I still haven't. This one I literally just got like maybe 3 weekends ago. I found it at a little free library. It's unorthodox. It has a Netflix adaptation, but it's about this woman who escapes her Hasidic Jew, I believe she's an Hasidic Jew, yeah, like her community, and she explains all this stuff that she went through when she was in that community and how she found a path to happiness and freedom for herself and her family. I don't think this is something I wouldn't read necessarily, but I just picked this up because I recognize the story, and I don't read a ton of memoirs, unfortunately, and so this would not be the one I start with. Then we have one I know is going to make a couple of my friends upset because they've told me how good this series is, and like they want me to read it, and I kept saying, oh, I'm going to read it, the movie's coming out, I really want to see the movie, and so I want to read these books. The movie came and went, and I still haven't read the books, and that is The Knife of Never Letting Go / The Chaos Walking trilogy, whatever. I can't remember if I stole only the second and third or all of these books from my friend, but my friend was literally about to unhaul these and I was like, no, I'll read them, give them to me. And guess what I did? I never read them, and so now I'm unhauling them. It's just one of those things I'm gonna regret later, but they're just taking up space. They're just taking up space. They're just taking up space. Kisses and Curses, another thing I found on Book Outlet randomly, and I was like, I recognize some of these authors. We got Marissa Mayer in here, Leigh Bardugo, Emmy Laybourne, Anne Aguirre, I don't know how to say her name. This was a short story collection that had like monster stories, post-apocalyptic romance, sci-fi, things like that, and that's all things that I'm interested in, but I found that I really don't like anthologies. I don't think I ever really gave this a fair shot. I read a few of the stories, I'm sure, but wait, can I give this up? Oh, they're not in here. Interesting. I know there's one short story collection that I've held on to forever only because there's one story in it by Maria Rakotsky that follows Aaron's POV, and I can't get rid of that book because it's about the Winter's Curse, which is one of my favorite trilogies. I have no idea where that is right now though. Anyway, that's a tangent. Is this not it? It is! I can't get rid of this! This is Marie Rakotsky's short story in it. Okay, I'm taking this out of the pile because I am not getting rid of that story. No way. I'm a dummy. Okay, so we're already going back on one of our things. I also have some Sophie Kinsella that I'm just probably never going to read. I actually have read some Sophie Kinsella in the past. I really enjoyed one of the stories, but this one I started and never finished. This one I never started. 2 romances. I think I just know what my taste in romance is now, and she doesn't really align with that, and not in a bad way. Like, these are still good stories. At least the ones I've read by her. I don't know about these 2 specifically. Okay, and then the last one in the books I'll probably just never get to is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I feel very bad unhauling this. I know I should give it another shot. I just can't. I just have no interest in this book. I just did not vibe with the beginning of this story. I don't know. I have nothing else to say. I know that I'm making a mistake here. But also, am I? Because everyone says, like, the first book is so good and then Vengeance and Virtue is not good. And so I'm like, why would I read, like, why would I start something that I'm not going to enjoy in the long run because the other book isn't very good, you know? Also, is there a 3rd book coming out in this series? Because it's been a long time. I know it took her a while to get Vengeance and Virtue out, so I assume it's probably taking her a while to get the other one out, if there is another one. But is this a duology? I don't think it is. So, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't jump on a ship that's kind of struggling to stay afloat. Is that mean to say? I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just not going to read this book. Okay, now it is ARC time. So that is all these ARCs that I've gotten from festivals in the past that are, you know, I probably read some of them and I definitely didn't read others. You should read your ARCs, and it's very important for the authors. And I'm going to be better about that. I'm starting to be better about that. But these, I just, like, you get so many at once at some of these festivals that you can just never get to them all. These I'm going to be donating to a children's drive because they are all YA and you can't sell ARCs. First, I have We Rule the Night by Claire Eliza Bartlett, and this is a story about witches, I think. And it's got, like, Russian mythology, I want to say. Or it's, like, set in a kind of, like, a Russian fantasy setting. Maybe some steampunk elements, it looks like. I don't know very much about this, but it came out in April 2019 and I never read it, and so I'm going to give someone else a chance to read this really cool exclusive copy of it. I have Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. I did not ask for this ARC or anything, it just kind of popped up in my hand, so I was never really interested in this. This is like a middle grade book and it has something to do with the sea. It's got an interesting cover that gives me the heebie-jeebies, so this train is being held by Ismay Williams. This is about this girl named Isabella and this guy named Alex, and they end up meeting on a train in New York. I did actually really want to read this, and I never did, which is a bummer. I also have Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli and Aisha Saeed. This is just not a book I'm gonna get to. I have The Waning Age by S.E. Grove. I have no idea what this is about. Definitely science fiction dystopia, and that's all I know. The time is now. The place is San Francisco. The world is filled with adults devoid of emotion and children on the cusp of losing their feelings or waning when they reach their teens. So that tells you what you need to know. I think we kind of moved past that era, but it's interesting to see that this came out in 2019. So the last few ARCs are ones I actually read, and so I can give an opinion on. But I read We Are the Wildcats. This ended up in my least favorite books of 2020 video. I thought the idea for this book was cool, and I thought that the message was good, but then the execution fell flat for me. I just was not impressed. Did not like how they did the different POVs, didn't like what each story arc was, and didn't like the ending. I read Night Music by Jen Marie Thorne. This was a cute little romance. It's about this girl who plays piano and this like prodigy named Oliver, I think his name was. Oh, Oscar. Oscar and Ruby. So like Oscar comes to live with her family for a bit because he's studying under her dad, who's a famous pianist, and she hasn't played piano in a long time because of something that happened. And so yeah, they just kind of bond, rediscover their love of music together. It's cute. I wouldn't read it again, but it was a good book, so someone else will like it. Then I have Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Nguyen, and I think this book was okay. Didn't really love it. Thought the story was a fun idea, but it just didn't do what it should have. Okay, so just because these books are in the unhaul pile does not mean that they inherently suck or that you shouldn't read them, except when it comes to these books right here. So in this section, these are books that I just did not like. And sucks is a strong word, I shouldn't say they suck. Some of these books are actually well loved, and I'm going to get some heat, probably, for having them in this pile. I personally did not enjoy them very much. Maybe didn't even hate them, I just did not enjoy them as much as I wanted to, and I'm getting rid of them. So, for the first one, I don't think people care that much if I hate this book, but The Picture of Dorian Gray, why do people like this book so much? I don't get it. This also made it into my least favorites of last year. And I'm sure you all knew this was coming, but I have Jennifer L. Armentrout's fantasy series, the Blood and Ash books. I am debating if I should keep from Blood and Ash, since I did enjoy this book. And these are the only two that, like, betrayed me. I feel like I feel like it's unfair to give the second and third book without the first book. So, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be that person. And as I've mentioned several times on this channel, I have exclusive copies coming from the Bookish box. And so, I will have the book. I can always go back to it if I want to. But I like having this thick, chunky paperback of it. But anyway, all that to say, I'm probably going to give it up because I don't need 2 copies of this book. Like, I just don't. It was not that good. Then I have The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. I really did not like this book. Read it back in May 2020. Unfortunately, I just had a very miserable time reading this and forcing myself to finish it, and so someone else should be able to have this gorgeous copy, and yeah, it's only right. Also, I pre-ordered this book actually, and so I have this really cool pre-order prize. So I think I'm actually going to host a giveaway on my Instagram page when I hit 2K, which I'm very close to. So if you want to accelerate that process, please go ahead and give me a follow over at Lala Loves Lit on Instagram. I do have character cards that I got with as the pre-order prize, and so I would be giving away this book and the character cards. Then I have The Outsider by Stephen King. Okay, I got so confused. I had a really dumb moment just now because I saw that the man was upside down, and so I thought that I was holding the book upside down, but I was reading the words and thinking, oh god, the words are upside down, but the words are not upside down. Anyway, I'm getting rid of The Outsiders. Correction, The Outsider. The Outsiders is a good book that I had to read in like 7th grade. This I did not enjoy so much. I liked the build-up, I enjoyed the story, and then the ending was just so rushed and dumb and like lame. I just didn't enjoy it. I have Dry by Neil Shusterman and his son Jared Shusterman. Really, really wanted to love this book. Was super into it from the beginning. It's about this girl and this group of people who are trying to survive a drought in Southern California, and there's no water anywhere. It's completely like harsh environment because the heat is still there, but there's no water. Really thought this book was cool in terms of the situation they set up, the kind of declining humanity, the message about climate change in here, but the character, the main character, I literally praised her at the beginning of the book for being so smart. Like, oh, I love this character. She does the dumbest things throughout this book. Like at first she was fine, and then all of a sudden she was just making all of these decisions that I was like, where is your survival instinct? Super disappointed by the things that happen in this book, and it really ruined my enjoyment of it, even though I like the story overall. Two more recent purchases? What am I trying to say? Two more recent purchases that I have here are Winter Soldier, that's not what it's called. Sister Soldiers, The Coldest Winter Ever, and Life After Death. This is the first book that came out in 1999 and the sequel that came out in 2021. Didn't really enjoy this story so much and won't ever read it again. My mom bought this because we were supposed to read it for a book club together. She read it. She said it was kind of dumb. Okay, this one I know is going to break a few hearts. I want to say that there's nothing against the book, the representation, all of that was amazing. I mean, I can't speak to it. I'm not Muslim. But like, I love this book for other people because it's the representation that they desire and it's a great book to them and I'm happy for them. But my next book here is Saints and Misfits by S.K. Ali. I really did not enjoy this book very much. I didn't like the main character very much. At some points I super related to her because there was even a time where I was Snapchatting my friends like passages from the story because back then, I read this a long time ago, Snapchat was still cool. But there was parts where I was like, oh my god, this is so me, and like she was talking about running away from boys and stuff. But overall, I just did not like her, and I didn't like the story. I'm going to leave this on a shelf for someone else who can find it, and love the representation, and feel seen by it, and all the things. Because there are parts where I even felt seen in this, but then overall, I was just, like, not into the story. And then I have Darius the Great is Not Okay, which I read, I think, in 2018, and I don't know why I didn't enjoy this book. Like, I found it to be okay, but I also found it to not really be good. Again, not every book in this section sucks or is like actually that bad, it just wasn't for me. And so I do want you to remember that. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. This one just wasn't for me. And one more that just wasn't for me is American Street by Ibby Zaboy. I really wanted to love this book. I remember I vlogged, but this is before I even had a YouTube channel, but I was like having a 24-hour readathon with my friend and I was vlogging about this and I was so excited to pick it up and I was like, I know I'm gonna cry, it's gonna be so good. It's about this girl who is a Haitian immigrant and she and her mother get separated as they're trying to move to, I think they were going to New York together. I was like, oh, this is gonna be such a tragic story, but it's gonna like be so heartwarming and stuff as she finds a new family in the States or whatever. I don't know, I just didn't like what was going on in here. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the situations they were in. It just wasn't for me. I love this cover though, and so I'm very sad. That's the thing, like these covers on the last few books that I showed, like they have good covers, and unfortunately I'm just gonna have to, this is so pretty. Let's get out of this section. This section is dangerous. We're gonna move on to the books that are just, you know, it's time for them to go. I have no strong feelings towards them. They're kind of just here and they don't need to take up space. So for this one, I'm going to first share my lesbian experience with loneliness. I just talked about this book in my May wrap-up because it's June now. I learned a lot about how this person's mental illness develops in real life and how like crippling that was for them, and which is super interesting to read about. I just expected kind of more from this story and didn't really get that more, but it was still a fascinating read, so I'm gonna let someone else get their hands on it and be fascinated by it as well. Okay, then I have 99 Days by Katie Cotugno, and this is like a guilty pleasure read for me, honestly. I felt so bad that I enjoyed this book. It's about this girl who like goes away to boarding school because her town hates her for dating one guy and then cheating on him with the brother of that guy, and she comes back for a summer and like she's still receiving the backlash of that, even though no one's really punishing the dude for what happened, and it's a whole thing. I'm not one of those people who hates cheating in stories. Like, I don't know if that's a weird thing and that's just me, but I don't mind it. Like, people are always like, oh, if there's cheating in it and they're condoning it, then I can't read it. I'm not like that. I don't care. So I didn't mind the cheating in this, as in like it shouldn't be done. But I'm not gonna completely hate the main character because of this one action and then not read the book. I just thought this was a fun story. I still gave it like 3 stars. I want to see if I can find my Goodreads review for this. My review goes as such, and I'll post it on the screen so you can see it. But I thought it was really funny. I used a quote from the book to describe how I feel about the book, and I think it's perfect and it sums up everything I want to say here. It's good is the worst part of everything. In my head, it was hackneyed and nasty, like a cheap daytime soap on the page. The truth is, it's kind of compelling. So that's how I felt about this, and I talk about how this book is super messy, and I didn't mean that the writing was bad or that the story was all over the place, just that the main character, super messy. She just has all these problems. It was a compelling, fun read. Not the best book though, and I won't be returning to it because I felt kind of icky while reading it. We have Strange Planet by Nathan W. Pyle, and I like this book, but it's like a book that you should probably come back to every once in a while and look at the pictures, and I never do, so I'm gonna get rid of this. But it's super cute, and I enjoy that person's Instagram, so keep doing what you're doing, dude. I also have a paperback copy of How Long Till Black Future Month that I will be giving away, only because someone gifted me a hardcover copy, and so I no longer need both copies, but this was one of my favorite books of 2020. I don't think you should get rid of this if you don't have 2 copies. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I regret reading this in 24 hours because most of what happens in this book I do not remember. I could not tell you. I liked it, I think. I can't even tell you that. I think I liked it. Obviously I liked it or I wouldn't have finished it. That's not true because I don't DNF things very often, but if I didn't like it, I would remember not liking it. I enjoyed this book. Romance was cute. The story is funny. I just don't have any interest in really continuing the story, and it wasn't like that good to me. I found this to be a very overhyped read. I do think I'm not too sad about this because I kind of want to get it in the paperback copies. I think they're really cute, way more cute than this. And so if I ever do feel compelled to read these books again, I would just get them in paperback because I like the illustrated cover on that one better, and I won't be too sad to part with this one. And we're down to our last 2 things here. So I have the Darkest Mind series by Alexandra Bracken. Good ride, fun story. I really enjoyed this one. I really loved Never Fade. In the afterlife, I don't even know what happens in it. Could not tell you. Don't think I liked it as much as the other 2. This was good when I was younger. There are definitely some characters in here that will stick with me forever. Like Clancy. No, not Clancy. That's not who I meant to say. Chubbs is who I meant to say, and Vita are some of my favorite characters in this universe, but I won't be returning to these books most likely, and it's time to let them go. And then the last one is an obscure series I feel like no one ever talks about. I don't think anyone's ever read them except me. Tried to make my friend read them. I think she read the first book and then just stopped. But that is the Immortal Game trilogy by Anne Aguirre, I don't know. Let me know if you read these books. I never see anyone talk about these books. I don't know if I'm like existing inside of a bubble where I'm the only person who has read them. But I got this book because look at this really cool cover for the first one. And then look what they did to the other 2. Why would they do this? This is disgusting. So yeah, I still bought them obviously because I was very invested in this story. I loved this trilogy. I think I read this like early high school days. I loved this trilogy. It's about this girl who is like fat and ugly and blah 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 blah, and everyone bullies her, and she ends up getting this wish to reform herself. And so I will say that one of the things I did see about this book, clearly some people read it because I read reviews, but there were people who were definitely bashing this book because it does that thing where it's like fat shaming and like teaching you a message where like the only way to like have a happier life is to completely change yourself. So yes, that was bad. I feel like there was like handling of it in a better way in the books that I'm just not remembering, but I can't defend these books because that kind of is what happens. Like, it really is just like, oh, you can be a prettier version of you and then everyone will like you and then that's fine, which is literally what happens. But it's also dark and she gets revenge and I love that. And I love the romance and I love the characters because it's so cool. And also, wow, the way that they decided to end this trilogy was just a lot. Why am I raving about these books to you as I'm unhauling them? I'm unhauling these because I loved them in high school and I don't see myself reading them again. I'm a little hesitant to do so because, as you can see, I am still very connected to the story. Like, I don't think about it every day, but like when I look at them, I'm like, yeah, those were good times. But yeah, so these are the books. So that's it. I'm gonna get rid of them because this video is long and I need to shut up. But we'll see. We'll see. We won't see. These are going. I need to get rid of these books. I need to stop doing that. So that's the end of this video. I'm unhauling 40 plus books. It's not nearly enough. I should be unhauling so many more books because, like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? But I'm having a hard time really like looking at my bookshelf and saying, realistically, you're not going to read that anymore. So until then, this is progress. This is as far as I can go. Thank you so much for watching this unhaul. Please let me know your thoughts on any of the books I shared in this video today. If I'm making a huge mistake, let me know, because obviously some of these I have read, some of them I haven't read, but I'm down to have a discussion about it in the comments. Other than that, you can like this video if you enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to my channel to see more content from me. I would love to have you here. Just absolutely love it. And I will talk to you soon in another video. I'm done talking now. Bye.